What's going on, YouTube? Lewis the Stone Man back at it. Today we are joined by some of my fish. Don't note the algae on the tank screen. They like to chew on it all day. They eat algae. So I leave it there growing, let them graze all day. It's fun to watch them. So today I'm going over my agatized coral case. There's 4 stragglers of random material in there, just because I didn't have anywhere else to put them. Yes, that is also my other fish tank. I usually sit here in my chair, watch both of them. It's a good time. So, this is what my coral case looks like. Yes, feast your eyes. Most of them I made, but I've got a few in here from trades and from friends. So without further ado, let's get started. We'll get started with our weird ones first, get them out of the way. That's a Scotch Bluff or Scotchboro. I can't remember exactly what it is. But I made that one out of some Texas chert I collected last time I was out in Texas. Actually, I believe I got this material from a spot in Killeen, Texas. This is just some gray Edwards Plateau chert, raw. Napped like a dream. Wasn't the best material grade-wise, but it's still Texas material. Very easy to work. This is one of my earliest attempts at a Clovis. I made it out of some Novaculite. Just never been able to get rid of this one, really. So it's just kind of hung around for a while. And these 2 ugly things are clay points that didn't quite come out the way I wanted them to. This one, the notches, they would blow out too much. And ended up getting a weird tiny stem base. Didn't want that. This one here, I guess there's not too much wrong with it. I just never really finished the edges up too much. Not a bad point, though. Alright, now that's out of the way. Let's get to the good stuff. Let's start us off with a real doozy. Speaking of clays, here's one of my better clays. This is made out of heat-treated pinhead coral. It is extremely translucent. Yeah, I'll show you. How about that? You ever seen pinhead coral shine like that? Looks like a solar flare inside. This material, I remember, was excellent to chip on. Heat treated to perfection. Just real gem grade pinhead coral. And speaking of pinhead coral clays, this is my first ever attempt at a pinhead coral clay. I made this one in 2021. And you could tell the difference in skill napping it versus what I can do today. But overall, it wasn't too bad. And I kept this one in particular because of this. Check this out. Look at that. It's almost like opalized. Almost like opalized pinhead coral. There's the money shot. Oh, yeah. But yeah. That's my baby. Alright. Got a lot to go over on this one. My biggest Noonan out of coral was also made out of some of the roughest coral I've ever done. This piece definitely needed about 550 and it only got about 400 degrees. That being said, it did chip slightly better than it was raw, so I took it and ran with it. Pretty flat stone though. Only real issue is right here, but that's not really that much of an issue. This Donato Sosa style point I made out of some striped heat treated coral. So on one side, it's closer to the cortex, as you can see. And then as you got slightly into it, size-wise, you get this blue tiger striping on a dark orange background. Very pretty. And I kept it a little thicker because these point styles were made to be a bit thicker. Though I do think I could have left it a little thicker and ran more of a convex edge striking platform to properly replicate it. But overall, I like this one. This pretty thing was made by Jake Anderson. Some brown and orange coral. Nice pretty seam here. This is my make right here. Ice blue coral. Yeah, this is one of my better makes from that particular variety of coral. Ice blue is pretty common, but it's just not as colorful, so many people don't really grab it. But this piece called to me, and with good reason. I mean, look at that. Oh yeah. Really sharp edges too on the base. Not to toot my own horn, but I think I nailed it on that one. Nailed it on this one too. This is a Coral Hardy point with alternate left side beveling with micro serrations. This would have been a little more common to what you see edgewise on a real one. Just real super fine intricate details on the micro flakes for the edge. Alternately beveled or left-handed beveled. And yeah, this one just had some nice butterscotch color to it. Couple little blue dots in it, just real small stuff. Really easy piece of coral to work. This piece of coral was a bit tougher, but was nice and consistent enough to stay with me. I was gonna go for something like a Sarasota style point off of this, but I'm not sure if I nailed it or not. Had a nice little crystal inclusion here, but it didn't seem to bother the stone one bit. Nice piece overall. This is one of my oldest points from coral, and I keep it as a reminder. This was my first attempt at a Thanatisasa style. But I love the blue inside next to the orange. This one is a lot more of a recent make. I did this one early this year. I had actually had the biface for quite a while, chipped down and worked out. But I decided to finish it early this year for some reason. But yeah, this one is a pretty unique coral pattern on this Hillsboro. Got white and whitish blue stripes going across it, kind of a whitish blue midsection, orange, white tip. And, you know, it's just absolutely gorgeous. One of my best Hillsboro, or if not the best Hillsboro I've ever made. Now this beautiful Hillsboro is one of Jake Anderson's signature pieces that he made last year in 2025. Look at that. Wow. I mean, masterpiece. This is a Tallahassee style point I made a couple years ago, 2021. And I think I nailed the serrations on it. It's pretty bad right there. Excuse me. Some real pretty translucent coral here. Look at that. Ain't that something? All right. Now these two beauties are made by a buddy of mine, Jacob Balbaum. And I got these points from him at the Ocala show in 2020. And he's probably one of the most skilled flint knappers I've ever had the privilege of watching chip out a stone. Always direct percussion. Hardly ever any pressure, never any indirect. I mean, dude's just got skills, and he can work a piece of coral real nice and thin. That's a Marion style point I got off of him. And this is a Lost Lake that he made. I want to say I've got one more of his points floating around in this case too, but I'd have to let you know when I found it. This Osceola Greenbrier, and the difference is the Osceola Greenbrier has a little nipple in the middle. The regular Greenbrier does not. But this one's one I made out of some surprisingly good quality coral. I just had a couple inclusions on it, but it's, you know, the flake still ran pretty good on it. I would not complain. This was an easy piece to make. Translucency check. Ready? That's good stuff right there. Here's a Dalton I made out of some dense Pasco County coral. Half peachy orange, half white. Beveled. Serrated. Just a nice piece. I love this one. Here's an old Sumter point I tried making one time. Not sure I nailed it. One of my earlier tries with coral. Pretty stuff though. This piece of coral was a bit tougher, if I recall right. It was one of my first heat treated pieces, and it was actually good enough for me to do something with. Now this thing is a salvage point. This side actually don't look too bad. Pretty flat, no hiccups, nasty serrations, weird looking style. This is a rendition of a Florida style South Prong Creek. Now the back side looks like cauliflower. This is part of the coral that had not turned into agate yet. And thus you can see all the coral grain and structure on the back side. I was just barely able to get it workably down, but this is probably one of the worst pieces of coral that I actually made something out of. This side was okay, this side was terrible. These two beauties are Cypress Creek style points. I made this one in 2021, this one in 2022. So here's my first one, just a light orange with white. One of my much older makes. And this one, a little bit more recent. This coral didn't have too much color in it, but it had some. This Tallahassee point is probably my best Tallahassee point I've ever made. Like a light blue with a white band and then peach. This is my favorite Noonan I've ever made. Just like a burnt orange color with some blue starburst pattern in there. Nice big inclusion. Look how big the percussion strikes on this side were. It's a huge strike here, huge one here, huge one here. And I don't know how well you can see it on the camera, but there is some pretty blue specks of starburst coral polyp in there. Overall, my favorite. How about you a serrated Hernando? How about you a non-serrated Hernando? Now, that serrated one I made about 2 years ago. This one I made last year. The first time I ever showed my face on YouTube was I was a guest star, I guess you call it, on my buddy Jake Anderson's live stream one day. And I just poked my head in to say hi. I was heading back home from work, passing through his area. And we had a little challenge for who could nap out a point the fastest. And I actually won that one, even though it wasn't finished. Well, I took that point of white coral home after that stream, fixed it, finished it, and it came out to be this beautiful Savannah River. Super thin. Look at that. And just a real milky white color coral. This bowline was made out of some orange chert. Beveling for you. Here's your little E-notch. How you like that? Good point. This one is my favorite Hardy I've ever made because of the material. You can, if you look close enough on the material, you can actually see every individual little polyp on it. I gave it left side alternate beveling. Puppy teeth with micro serrations. Overall, just a great point. I love that. This beauty I actually forgot about. I left it on the front porch for like 2 years. Little blue and orange side notch point of some sort. I don't know what you call it. Had a big old inclusion on one side that ran all the way to the other side. And all that is, that's just part of the coral that didn't turn into agate yet. Pretty good though, overall. This is my first rendition here of a Gadsden style point. I just made it out of some peach colored chert. Hard to find information on this style. Apparently it's a very rare sub-variety. These are two small Cypress Creek points I put together. This one's out of almost some burnt color looking coral. Really an odd point. I think I made this one off a big flake, if I recall correctly. And this one was made off of a flake for sure, because half the face on this side is flat. But overall, this was an easy point to make, you know. I don't mind making points out of flakes, that's fine. Little South Prawn Creek out of some burnt color. Had a nice fat crystal inclusion on the side. But even still, so we were able to keep it together pretty well. This little bowline bevel is awesome. This was one of my first pieces of coral I ever heat treated, and it actually came out pretty good. This is a much earlier make for me, and I had actually forgotten about this, and then picked it up 2 years later, like, oh, I remember that. One of my favorites. Here's a beauty. This is a Dalton point I made. Kind of like an Ukmulgee style Dalton. Here's another nice little hardy point I made. Alternately beveled. Puppy dog serrations. Puppy teeth. Overall, just a really nice one too. This is a bigger one. Nice little white and blue stripe on the side. This was some of my first heat treated coral as well. And this particular thin piece was a big flake right off the cortex, which is why I got these weird crazy looking color bands. But this was supposed to be a Putnam style point. I made this one many years ago. Real interesting color though, that's why I kept it this whole time. It's very unique. How's that for a levy? Out of some nice butterscotch coral. This Hillsborough was in that batch of coral I did the first time. Did it right. Got some blue, white, and red on there. Real patriotic looking point. One of my older makes. This particular Marion I got at my, well, I made this out of some material that I got at the first Ocala show I ever did. And it's got blue, yellow, and red in it. It's got all the primary colors. Translucency check here. Look at all the coral polyps in that stone. You can actually see the individual polyps. That's one of the reasons I've kept it so long. I love coral where you can see the actual fossils in it. Hence why I kept this one. You can see its little polyps. This is a nice translucent little piece. I got this one from my buddy Joey down there in Florida. Met him at the Ocala show. Still got your point, buddy. I just love it. Love the work. This is another little Hillsborough I threw together with some red coral. Pretty colors on that. This Hernando is one I made out of some heat-treated agate type of coral, real high grade. It's blue and brown and white. Look at that. You like coral, huh? So there you go. This is a pink piece of coral that Mr. Randy Clement made for me. He's my coral guy down there in Ocala. I ain't been able to see him in the last 2 years, but every time I go down there, he's the only guy I'll buy coral from personally. Best prices, best quality. Yeah, not too much translucency, but nice pretty brown with a little blue patch on it. One of my older Hillsboroughs. This is an Ikichinituckney point. No, I'm not going to try and pronounce that twice. this beauty, I'm not sure if I'd label it as a clay or a Hernando, or really even anything. I just had a really pretty piece of coral with pink, white, blue in it, and I just decided to put some pretty notches on it. Probably turn this into a necklace one day. Should definitely pass the translucency test, I'll tell you that much. Then I've got this little Choctawhatchee style point made out of coral. Some orange and blue coral. Tan, tan, tan. And then finally, last but definitely not least, is this little piece of blue and brown coral that I made a little Jack's Reef style point. Or just a little corner notch bird point. I'm not sure if I actually styled that after anything. Look at that translucency. How pretty. Alright. Well, that's about it, guys. So, appreciate you.